Anatomy of a Collapse: How the Great American Dream of John DeLorean Burned Down. The history of the automotive world knows many flamboyant adventurers, but none of them ever came as close to the brink of absolute triumph and crushing downfall as the creator of the DMC-12. This drama brought together all the elements of a Hollywood blockbuster: the neon glitz of the 80s, the cold steel of unpainted stainless steel, the geopolitical intrigues of the British government, the heavy scent of a smoldering civil conflict, and the despair of a man who put absolutely everything on the line. John Zachary DeLorean didn't just want to build another fast toy for the rich. He threw a daring, almost insane challenge at the sluggish corporate monsters of Detroit, determined to prove to the entire world that a brilliant rebel loner could rewrite the rules of the global auto industry. But behind the facade of futuristic design lay a ruthless economic meat grinder, where romantic impulses and cosmic ambitions shattered against raw engineering, bureaucracy, macroeconomic whims, and the dirty traps of intelligence agencies. In 1973, 48-year-old John DeLorean made a move that shocked the entire American auto industry. He demonstratively resigned from his position as vice president of the giant General Motors Corporation, voluntarily walking away from a guaranteed multi-million-dollar salary, a private office overlooking Detroit, and nearly 100% chance of eventually securing the presidency of the entire corporation. Tired of being a cog in a system churning out boring cars for the mass market, he became obsessed with creating a fundamentally new, ethical sports car. Safe, immune to corrosion for a quarter of a century, technologically advanced, and yet affordable. The concept looked fantastic. A lightweight fiberglass framework, exterior panels made of brushed Type 304 stainless steel, iconic gull-wing doors designed to open upward even in tight parking spaces, and a sleek wedge-shaped silhouette penned by the legendary Italian maestro Giorgetto Giugiaro. However, the engineer who had left GM lacked the one thing he needed most: hundreds of millions of dollars to organize mass production from scratch. The search for investors led him to Europe, and in the autumn of 1978, DeLorean struck a fatal deal with the British government. Desperate to lower the temperature of the brutal religious and political conflict in Northern Ireland, British authorities agreed to generously fund the project in exchange for building a factory in depressed Belfast and creating thousands of jobs. The manufacturing complex rose in the suburb of Dunmurry, right along the line of a bitter geopolitical faulting zone between Catholics and Protestants, instantly turning the facility into an easy target for extremists and union blackmailers. Political pressure and the rigid terms of the contract forced the company to launch the assembly line in a record, nearly impossible timeframe for the auto industry, taking a mere 28 months to develop and finalize the car instead of the standard 5 years. Such reckless haste inevitably led to fatal engineering compromises. The initially planned innovative Citroën-Wankel rotary engine failed tests due to catastrophic oil consumption and a failure to meet U.S. environmental standards, forcing engineers to scramble and reconfigure the entire engine bay layout. Legendary British designer Colin Chapman and specialists from Lotus were brought in to salvage the project, completely redesigning the chassis using fiberglass technology, but there was no time left for thorough road testing across various climate zones. As a result, the troubled sports car received an underwhelming and sluggish power plant, a 2.85-liter Peugeot Renault Volvo FIG 6. Due to suffocating American emissions regulations, the export version's output dropped to a modest 130 horsepower, turning the futuristic bolide into a disappointment for the press. 0 to 60 miles per hour on the heavy manual transmission took a sluggish 10.5 seconds, while the 3-speed automatic version hopelessly lagged behind ordinary family sedans. Compounding the situation was a severe personnel crisis at the Belfast plant, where government quotas forced the hiring of local dock workers, fishermen, and farmers who had never seen an automotive assembly line. The first batches of the DMC-12 rolled out with monstrous defects. Body panels leaked in the rain, door gaps measured in centimeters, and complex electrical systems frequently short-circuited while driving. Up to 85% of finished vehicles arriving at U.S. ports required deep overhaul and correction of factory flaws by dealers right on open lots, destroying the brand's reputation before cars even reached buyers. Just as engineers finally began to get a handle on the car's initial flaws, a storm of planetary proportions loomed over the project. Due to continuous design revisions, highly complex supply chain logistics for components sourced from across the globe, and rampant inflation, the production cost of the DMC-12 doubled. The company was forced to raise its retail price from the originally promised $12,000 to $25,000, and by the official market launch in 1981, that price tag climbed even higher. At such a price point, an obscure vehicle from an unknown startup found itself competing against established flagships like the Porsche 911 and iconic American sports cars, instantly narrowing the target audience to microscopic proportions. The situation was aggravated by a severe macroeconomic recession in the United States. Under Paul Volcker, the Federal Reserve hiked benchmark interest rates to a record 20% per annum in an effort to curb inflation. The economy trembled, credit became unavailable, and middle-class purchasing power collapsed. Under these conditions, demand for expensive and impractical niche vehicles vanished within weeks. Roughly 3,000 completed sports cars sat as dead weight on distributor lots across the U.S. Dealerships mass-canceled new orders, and company accounts drained at a catastrophic rate. By inertia, the Belfast plant kept churning out unwanted cars, burning millions of dollars every month. At this critical juncture, the British government, led by hardline Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, took an uncompromising stance. London had already sunk staggering taxpayer funds into the venture and had no intention of burying millions more into a bottomless pit. Thatcher flatly refused to allocate emergency financial aid to the dying enterprise and demanded the immediate repayment of previously issued loans. John DeLorean's attempts to find private investors or negotiate a merger with major corporations failed. The traditional American auto industry watched with cynical glee as the upstart who dared challenge the system suffered its death throes. Driven to absolute despair, personally drowning in multi-million-dollar debts, and desperately trying to secure $17 million to pay worker wages and save the company from immediate bankruptcy, DeLorean made a fatal mistake. He engaged with acquaintances who offered him an alternative financing option via a major cocaine deal. Exhausted by stress, the designer had no idea that his new business partners were actually informants and FBI agents running a months-long sting operation against him. In October 1982, undercover agents arrested John DeLorean at a Los Angeles hotel, charging him with conspiracy to distribute narcotics. Footage of the once brilliant General Motors top manager in handcuffs instantly flashed across global television networks and newspaper pages, completely destroying the remaining business reputation of the brand. Although 2 years later, a high-profile defense attorney, Howard Weitzman, brilliantly dismantled the case in court, proving a classic federal entrapment scenario after which a jury fully acquitted DeLorean on all counts, it was far too late to save the company. British authorities immediately sealed the Belfast plant, and the incredibly expensive custom stamping dies for the unique stainless steel panels were dumped straight into the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. The designer's personal debts exceeded $30 million. He lost his home, his family, and spent the remainder of his life locked in fruitless legal battles, passing away in 2005 in total obscurity and poverty. The DeLorean DMC-12 remains forever enshrined in history as a brilliant icon of its era and a masterpiece of industrial design, but its downfall was the logical and tragic culmination of compounding pressures. The car failed to survive due to a devastating synergistic effect of internal missteps and external forces, engineering failure and reckless haste. Developing and launching the car in a mere 28 months saddled the project with a raw, unrefined design. A heavy, underpowered V6 engine paired with dismal performance disappointed enthusiasts, while the unskilled labor force at the Northern Irish plant generated an astronomical rate of factory defects, forcing extensive reassembly right on U.S. dealer lots. A devastating economic storm. Constant design revisions and supply chain hurdles doubled production costs, forcing retail prices up to the level of prestigious sports cars. At that exact moment, a historic 20% Federal Reserve interest rate and a brutal American recession completely wiped out consumer demand for expensive niche novelties. Cold political abandonment. The British government under Margaret Thatcher adopted an unyielding stance, flatly refusing to rescue a private failing enterprise with public funds while demanding immediate loan repayments, depriving the company of any final lifeline for financial rehabilitation. a fatal FBI trap. Desperate to secure millions to keep his sinking business afloat, DeLorean fell directly into a meticulously coordinated federal sting operation involving narcotics. Despite his subsequent acquittal in court, that single arrest instantly shattered the brand's business credibility and triggered the immediate, irreversible liquidation of the company. Did you like the story? Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new tales about automotive legends, and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think DeLorean's collapse was inevitable, or did the project actually stand a chance of survival?